the work that I work for right now in that office, we use LSAMS is technically sort of like the ERP, and basically whatever happens, it stores there, and everybody, whoever needs the information, they pull them out from there. So that is centralized. So why can't we say that LSAMS is ERP instead of SAP is ERP?
Yes, very good question. Now in the market you will have so many ERP products. Okay, you go on and there will be so many ERP products. You go, there's an Oracle ERP product. Can you name that? What you said? Spell it.
LSAMS. L-S-A-M-S. L-S-A-M-S.
A-M-S. So this is also one of the ERP product. Now can you tell me at what level this is tightly integrated? Now I can tell you from the perspective of SAP how it is integrated, at what level it is integrated. Suppose if your company is going with an SAP, you know, they will be able to integrate all the departments. Let's say finance department, sales and distribution department, okay, materials management, production planning. Okay, do you have production planning in that?
Well, we do, but the limited people have access into it.
Then apart from that, why SAP has gone other ERP products? Because this is tightly integrated with all the modules, plus there is something called controlling. Do you have controlling in that? There is something called controlling module.
Yes.
So yes, if it is such a good product where you have all the products where we created, and I suppose your ERP is also gone online, right?
Yes.
It is online, and also the data gets integrated at the same time on a real-time basis. It gets updated the moment you enter. It will affect to the other departments, right? So when it is all that is into picture, then you can call yes, LSAMS is your an ERP product. It is that tightly integrated. SAP got its momentum because it is very, very tightly integrated with other modules. When I say integration with other modules, it means like, you know, if you key in any data from this place or any other department and it is gone online, okay, for a product to call as an ERP, integration is must.
So if that's the case, there are lots of ERP there then. I mean, we use other LPS. LPS has pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, but the functionality of that can be understood only to what level it has been integrated. Like Oracle. Oracle is a very good product, but if you come to the integration point of view, it is not that tightly integrated. Okay, there are certain things that you need to enter it manually.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, from the finance perspective, Oracle is very good. If somebody who is into finance, who says, okay, I don't need production planning, I don't need materials management, I'm not that into production side, I need only respect to finance companies, then it is very good. Then if you go for a PeopleSoft, you might have heard about a PeopleSoft, right? It's a PeopleSoft as one of the ERP product, which is very good.
It's pretty much the HR.
HR, yeah, it is. You're right. So like this, you can go for Barn is there, one of the ERP, which is very good for production. Somebody who is going into a production. But if you pick SAP, it has got all its requirement. Like put this SAP into two: functional, technical. Okay. From functional perspective, let me put the finance. We have something called finance module and controlling module. From the logistics side, we have sales and distribution, materials management, production planning, warehouse management, quality management, plant maintenance. I'm putting all the basic core modules over here. Okay, then HR, we have HR, or let me put as on the admin side, we have HR and something called, this is also called as HCM, Human Capital Management. From the technical side, we have basis, ABAP, ABAP. So what I did over here is I basically divided SAP into two parts. One is from the function on the technical. Now, any software, whether you take Oracle or what he has said just now, Sanjay, about LSAMs, this is designed with a certain software, right, Sanjay? No, SAP is designed in a language called ABAP, Advanced Business Application. This is similar to your C, C++ if somebody is aware about. Ever heard about these languages? Heard about these languages? C, C++, something similar to this. So, as an ABAP consultant, what do? As an ABAP consultant, you will develop reports. Okay, what kind of reports? As per the client, it is not reports, but the requirement of the client may change. So, depending on the requirement of the client, they can develop the reports only by taking into account with the functional guys. They don't understand the functionality of the report. You have to make them understand the requirements so the ABAPers can develop that reports for you. Interfaces. What's an interface? Now what's an interface? Now suppose these are the departments I have and I have gone for an SAP. This is my ABC company. ABC is a company. SAP. Now the company says for this particular finance module I will not use SAP. I will use Oracle. Now you need to fetch the data. This is my non-SAP data. Agree? Right, Sanjay? I want to fetch my non-SAP data into SAP. We try to connect this Oracle with SAP and the data flows automatically.
Okay.
There is something called in between that, there is something called process integration, PI. Earlier it was called as an XI. This is the tool of an SAP. What it does is it absorbs this data from Oracle, it converts the data into. Okay, so that is what an interface is all about. So when you are building up an interface, you require an ABAPer to make him understand what is the data that we are flowing into SAP. Then there is something called conversions. Conversions are related to this particular. When this company is getting into SAP, it has some legacy data, old data that need to be fetched into SAP, right? So that is done via conversions. Help of a conversion. Then there is something called enhancements. What's an enhancement? For example, let's say there is one scenario called procurement to pay. I have a scenario that is procurement to pay, which starts with an inquiry, which starts with a quotation, which starts with a purchase order again, next purchase order. Then after purchase order, I'll do the goods receipt. Then I'll make the invoice. Invoicing is done. After you do the invoicing, you make the payment. This is a standard scenario which is available in SAP. So this is procurement to pay kind of a scenario. In this particular scenario, when you're running this scenario, suddenly there is one change they have brought into this scenario. This particular company says, in this particular standard scenario, I want to change over here. I want to keep a PO, when it is raised above $1 million, it should go directly to the CFO of the control over here at this particular. They want to have a control over here. So if you are trying to bring any change in the standard scenario, then you need an enhancement. If that enhancement is required, that should be available in the standard scenario only, then you can bring in that enhancement. Then there is something called forms for reports that we use. Okay, forms like we use it in the checks. Okay, check prints. So these are all different kind of reportings over here we use. So basically, as an ABAP consultant, we call this as a, in short, reports, interfaces, conversion, enhancements, and forms. These are the, as an ABAP consultant, he performed these activities. An ABAP consultant, this is what you will look into. Now from the basis guys, a basis consultant basically is a consultant, you know, he does the sizing of the hardware. The person with the knowledge of networking and hardware basically will do this activity. A basis consultant is a guy who performs the installation activity. For example, for an SAP to be loaded into a server, this is the guy who looks into it. From the security perspective, he looks into it. From the perspective of giving you user passwords and all those, this guy looks into. So basically, a person who is involved into networking and hardware as a consultant will get into a basis side. So let's move into the functional side then. So from the finance perspective, okay, let's move to the finance immediately. Jump into the word finance. So why do we do this finance? Purpose of doing the finance. Sanjay? Why do we do this? We put a nice P&L sheets, we draw, right? What is the purpose of that? Binding from the law of the land, I said. For the binding, as you said, you cannot do any business in US if you're not trying to put as per the standards. The reason why you have got the binding from the law of the land is because you need to pay what? Taxes, right? Based on that you will pay. Ultimately you're deriving your P&L accounts, your balance sheet, whatever, because based on that you pay your taxes. Apart from that, it is fulfilling your other needs like to know the profit of the company, to the CEOs, to the companies, to know to the shareholders, to know to the shareholders how that company is earning, and you can share the bonuses on that whatever the earning shareholders. All this put together we call finances for. So internal purpose. Other side of the CEO is internal purpose. Okay. So side for controlling is for internal purpose. So what do I mean by internal purpose? There are no standards. Okay, you don't have to follow any standards. There are no gaps, accounting principles that you need to follow for this. So this is all for internal purpose. Like I want to put to use all my resources to the maximum utilization to that is where my controlling. This is where the SAP has got its momentum than the other ERP products because of controlling. Not only you can do planning, you can do future plannings also with respect to controlling and try to analyze what is that you are trying to earn about it. So this is all about the controlling perspective is for your internal purpose. Then logistics is all self-explanatory. This is for solution management or something like, I'll just put like purchases. These people are responsible for purchases. These are for production. These are for storage related. This is for your quality management, and this is for your plant maintenance, for your people's management. Okay. So next I'll be going through what is that we will be covering in finance and controlling. So here there are furthermore, if you get into this, if you go, SAP has its own industrial specific solutions, what we call specific to the industry. They have around 21 plus like this, specific to the industry. So what do I mean by specific to the industry? If you go for an aerospace industry, it has got its own for this. If you go for the utilities, they have got their own ISS specific to the industry. If you go for a defense is also one of that. Like this, they have industrial specific solutions, and they have some new dimensional products which they name it as. So what are the new dimensional products that they have is something which is called as a business intelligence. Okay, if you go for somebody who has gone through this logistics, they will go through this supply chain management. If somebody who has got knowledge, which Sanjay was talking about, the treasury and all those things are included over here. So the base for anything you want to go, it is here it starts with. So people, once they update their respective modules to the respective modules, there are some advanced modules where you look into it. Business intelligence is basically one of the reporting tool we have. It's the reporting tool. Okay, so this gets integrated with all the modules. If you want to get one data at a higher level, so very big companies use this, bigger companies, they use this where they can consolidate Okay, Cognos is also BI it seems. Alright.
I had a question. So you said bigger company use the BI, so it doesn't matter which kind of industry. Is it general, different kind of industry they can still using the BI?
Yeah, no. What I mean to say is usually smaller companies doesn't need that level of reporting. So bigger companies require those kind of a reporting which they have a huge chunk of data. So pulling up that huge chunk of data at this level will be very difficult. If you use a tool that is specific for reporting, you can pull up the data in the BI and get that reporting. Because the data load will be pretty high compared to what you want to pull it at this level. So you can get another module that is business intelligence where you can get the reports as per your requirement, whatever requirement you want to pull up the report at. Okay. And now let me go through what I will be going through the next. So this session is usually 1.5 hours. I take around for 30 days. That is 45 hours duration. Actually, I call it as a 45-hour duration rather than saying in the days. So I'll be going through this financial accounting first initially. So we will be setting up our own enterprise structure from the perspective of we'll create our own company codes and everything will be created on. So I'll show you how it is created. So we will decide an enterprise structure. Before we get into any implementation, first we need to understand the enterprise structure of a company. So we'll set up the structure of the company, then we'll design our own fiscal year. Okay. Then we'll move into general ledger accounting, and the general ledger accounting will look into chart of accounts, different chart of accounts. Then I'll be moving into, all these are related to few templates. These are all templates that I'll be looking into general ledger accounting. Okay. And then we look into foreign currencies as per the standards, as per the requirement. The foreign currencies, when you keep on dealing with the foreign currencies, are those currencies which you deal in other than your company currency, company code currency. For example, if your company is dealing in USD, it is in US. So if you are using INR, EUR or whatever currency you are using, apart from that is called as a foreign currency. Okay. Now we look into that, we'll try to evaluate. So once we go ahead and make some purchases and sales, so there will be some currency lying at our end. We want to evaluate that currency to know the true position of the company for that particular day. So we look into that. From the perspective of interest calculations, we will look into the interest calculation from the perspective of loan taken and also the interest charged for the customers for the late payment. Then this I'll come back again on the top. Then we'll look into accounts payable and accounts receivable. Remember, whatever we do, we will do the testing. So whatever I'm telling you, whether I'm telling you with respect to chart of accounts, we need to do testing. So whatever configuration we'll do the testing at the same time. Accounts payable, accounts receivable, accounts payable vendors, accounts will perspective of that. Then there is something called dunning program. Dunning is related to a reminder, sending it to the customer for the late payment. Then we'll look into installments, discounts. Then comes is related to the individual checks. And also we'll look into automatic payment program. This is one of the important part where you can issue checks at a one go to the hundreds of vendors. I think Sanjay will be interested in that. Then coming to the cash journal. Do people use petty cash book in US?
Petty cash book, that's the old-timey thing. No, we don't do that anymore.
We call this as a cash journal. It's nothing but a petty cash book. Then we look into tax calculations on the jurisdiction level. Okay. Then we'll look into, right, you work on the jurisdiction level in US, right? Hello? Right?
What's that?
Yeah. So from asset accounting, we'll look into in detail about the asset accounting. Okay, ways of calculating the depreciation as per the requirement of the law of the land, we'll look into it. And then we'll run few scenarios onto that. Then we'll look into the preparation of the balance sheet and profit and loss account. That is what we call as the financial statement versions. Ultimately, we need to draw this particular report as per the schedule. Then we'll look into the integration point. So if you are interested in looking at the SD related, do let me know. I'll do it in front of you, and so that I can run the end-to-end scenario from order to cash. Also, if you want to see this time, I can do it in front of you itself. So I'll run this procurement to pay entire scenario. Then we'll move into controlling. This is again the basic settings that I'll be doing. Then we'll move into cost element accounting, which acts as an integration point between your FI and CO. If the data has to be flown from FI to CO, it flows via cost element accounting. Then we'll move into cost center accounting, which collects cost. Then about the internal orders, we use internal orders for planning, which collects the cost, and end of the day we want to settle those orders. Then we look also budgeting also from the perspective of internal order. In profit center accounting, which collects both cost as well as your revenue. That is about the profit center we look into. So this profit center, earlier it was under controlling. Now after the new GL concept, this has come onto the finance side. New GL. So in the new GL, we look into the, for example, whenever we post an entry, it posts into a ledger. For example, if I'm posting in a ledger, let's say I'm posting in a ledger L1, which records only USD currency. My requirement is, apart from USD currency, I want my reporting into EUR or AUD, Australian dollar. So I'll create a different ledgers. So what will happen? I will post only to this ledger. Automatically it will get posted into different ledgers. So I can have a reporting in 3 currencies. That is called as the leading ledgers or parallel currencies. So this is as a leading ledgers. These are all non-leading ledgers. So this is called as a parallel currencies. You can have this. This is with the new GL concept. Apart from that, we will have a document splitting, which is another concept again for the reporting purpose we use it, which will split the document based on the requirement at what level you want to have your reporting. Okay, this is what for the next 45 hours of my duration I'll be running all this. Any questions from your end?
So earlier you said that they are different kind of products. So our training, the R3, is that the product for use to majority industry, or how? Because for example, we don't know future what kind of company we're going to be working for. It can be film, it can be entertainment, it can be other like retail, it can be hospitality. So the training that we get is I don't know how does other like those big company, what kind of version they use.
Yeah, so you're talking from the logistics side. We are from the finance side. Whether you go anywhere, you have to follow those standards. So there will be no change in the standards from the finance side. So if a person who is coming from a logistics side has to worry about it. Is he going into a production industry? Is he going into a retail industry? Is he going into a chemical industry? Whatever. But if you go to the finance side, whether it's a chemical, whether it's a production, whether it's a chemical industry, whether it's a production industry, or whether it's a retail industry, the finance part remains the same. It will not change.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
Debit as debit, credit as credit. So it doesn't change. It remains the same.